Welcome into episode 341 of the Sources Say podcast, your go-to Kentucky basketball and recruiting podcast on the growing KSR Podcast Network. I am your host, Jack Pilgrim of Kentucky Sports Radio. Very excited to be joined once again by Coach Sean Smith. And we're going to be emphasizing coach terminology here. This episode, I know you're very excited for, one that we've been talking about quite a bit. Every night for the last week, we've been talking about this episode and how excited we are to kind of make this happen. And so we've been counting down the days, and it's finally come, Sean.
Yeah, it's been dead period for me. So I've had 2 weeks of no basketball with what I do. So I've had a lot of time to dive into some of the things that I wish I'd had time to do back in late April, early May. But Jack's not wrong. I've been sending Jack clips probably till 1 o'clock in the morning most nights since last weekend. And we finally decided to do like a film room session. We're going to get into a lot about what Mark Pope and Kentucky do offensively. And this is kind of something, Jack, that if it goes well, there's enough in the bag that we can get another part, like a part two of a film room, maybe even extend into a three. I know there's going to be people that are going to want to know about the defensive end at some point too. But last season, we tried to create some off-season content. We had some guests. But when you get a new head coach, you get all the content you want because you can dive in and kind of look at some things that they do differently. And there's a lot that's done differently with Mark Pope.
So when Mark Pope is hired, and you kind of get into the big picture stuff with what the philosophies are and kind of his team identities, and what we saw last year at BYU. They take a lot of threes. They like to play a lot in transition. They, the big picture stuff, we've all kind of gotten a pretty firm grasp on what that's going to look like, how it's going to transition into Kentucky. But you're going to see a lot of phrasing and terminology and things that Pope throws out there that I think that now that we're kind of into the dog days of summer, and Pope is teaching his players what a lot of this stuff looks like and kind of what his own identity is as a coach to his guys, it makes sense for us to kind of try to convey that same message to our listeners. And so fans know what to expect when the ball is tipped this season. So when he throws out zoom action and away action and get, and, different kind of catchphrases, fans don't sit there, that just the casual fans don't sit there and listen and go, I have no idea what Pope is talking about. So that's what this episode is going to be for. That's what we need your help for, Sean. I think listeners are going to very much appreciate it. So so there's a clip that you sent me a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago. It's a 35-minute video on YouTube where it's like 75 different actions that Pope's offense runs, which I think we'll start with this before we get into the individual clips, Sean. Pope's offense has, it's not just 4 or 5 set plays. Every single action has like a tree branch coming off of it that leads to 1, 2, 3, or 4 different reads that then leads to the next step. So your just kind of big picture in your research and digging into the film, how would you best classify what fans should expect with Pope's offense and how, with the personnel that he has brought on to Lexington, what that's going to look like just from a big picture overview, kind of 40,000 foot view?
To me, it's a nightmare for opposing coaches, GAs, whoever's involved in film and scouting. It's a nightmare because there's so many things that they do offensively. And I would say, they have their sets. Like they get into when they want to get somebody a shot, they'll do something. They'll run some action for that. But a lot of their stuff, Jack, it's just reactionary based. Like they get the ball where they want to go. So much of it is through the 5-man, which you're going to hear me throughout this episode say that's probably going to be one of the most important things that happens in this roster between now and November, and especially November to March, is who is that 5? Who fits it best? Who can facilitate pass the basketball? Who is good enough to knock down some outside shots and at least keep the defender, respectful there? But to me, it's the IQ that they play with offensively. And in a lot of these clips that you're going to see today, they are instantly putting pressure on you in the first 10 seconds of the shot clock. Off a make or miss, we know priority number one for Mark Pope in Kentucky is the pitch ahead three in transition. Can you get a quick three in transition, or can you get an easy layup or something at the rim? If you don't have that, their delay offense that they get into, where the ball ends up being in the five man's hands in the middle third of the floor, they'll run some away action. They're running all kinds of stuff. They're right into zoom, like 5 or 6 seconds off a missed basket. They're running zoom and getting something. Like, I think that's the thing that stood out to me. They got to be able to cut violent cuts, really hard cuts, high IQ cuts. You're making reads constantly. You make that read, and then it's kind of a domino effect of what comes off that. If the first thing's not there, maybe option 2, option 3 is, but you're playing off of one another. You got to have good chemistry. I think that now maybe puts a focal point on that's an area that I'm watching with this current team, is how quickly they get that chemistry down, because these are guys that haven't played together in this stuff. That's why I think it was important to get Jackson Robinson, because you're going to see him in a lot of these clips. But to me, they're going to play 9 guys at least, because the way that BYU made cuts, you're going to get tired, and it's constant movement. And I'm not sure that I've seen a coach move the help line more than Mark Pope does. And I'm going to get into that when we get into clips. But the help line, I mean, it shifts because they've got shooters on the floor and they're occupying help constantly. Going to be a fun episode.
This is right in your wheelhouse. I'm really excited to. It's been fun just having you send individual clips and just be like, "Hey, look at what the attention is on this side of the floor, but look how the switch here at the top of the screen changes everything around the play." It's little things like that it's not just surface level what the eye can see. There's so many second, third, fourth layers of everything that Mark Pope does. So that's what I'm really looking forward to. So with that, if we want to just jump right in, let's make this happen. I believe
before we get in there, one note: you're going to hear me talk about power plays, and I'm not talking hockey, but kind of, because that's where.
Oh no. Hello.
It originates from Mark Pope. I didn't know a ton about Pope.
Hang on, you froze really, really bad. Daniel, was that on his end, not mine? Okay, Daniel says on his end. So start over from
right.
what?
At least we're here. Okay.
You said power play is not in hockey. Well, kinda, and then you went.
All right. So I've studied Mark Pope a ton over the last few weeks, and one thing that I came across from Mark Pope is power plays. Power plays, you think of it in a hockey term where there's a guy in the penalty box, right? So one team's got an advantage numbers wise. Mark Pope and BYU, and now at Kentucky, they're going to try to create advantages in the half court and in transition. You can actually find short clips on this on YouTube too after this episode if you want to go find some of the things that I'm talking about. And maybe I'll even tweet them out or something so people can kind of follow along with it. But a power play, Mark Pope says that you earn it, you deliver it, and you finish it. Earning it means you earn a second defender. So how am I able to get a second defender to guard me? Something off the bounce, a really good cut, some action here. The most important part of it is the delivery. I've got to make a decision split second to deliver the basketball, and Mark Pope preaches on time, on target. And then you finish it. He says the delivery is the most important part. You're going to see some power plays in this, and some of these are extended opinions of what I see as a power play for what Mark Pope is doing. And I'm sure this is exactly what he's looking for. There are a couple where the guards making quick decisions, Jack, finding shooters, and that pass has to be on target. If it's not, they wasted a power play. So it's essentially hockey. You go, and next thing you know, the numbers are even, and you didn't score. So to me, it's just really brilliant the way that you come up with it. And here's why they were leading up to 5-on-5 in these summer practices. Remember, we heard that it was a lot of 3-on-3 things. His power play drills are actually 3-on-3 or without the 5-on-5. They'll add people as they go, but they're breaking those down from the moment the power play starts. And what it's doing is it trains these guys to make a split decision in a read, and it's different every single time. But you rep that, and Kentucky will use that power play, and they'll abuse it and abuse it and abuse it, and they'll keep going back to it. That's a coach that makes adjustments and takes advantage. And I'm telling you, I'm even more excited about this now that I've been able to sit down for, I think, 10 straight days. I've watched some type of footage of Mark Pope at BYU. I've watched 7 full games from their time there. I watched the Kansas game 3 times. And it's just the way that they run high-level stuff and the high IQ. And that's what you hope to see in Lexington.
So let's jump right in. So we're gonna have, I think we have 10 separate clips ready for Sean to kind of break down one by one. We're gonna try to cut it frame by frame to kind of say, okay, here's what's happening here, who's kind of initiating it, and he's going to take it from there. So clip 1, we have Dalen Hall on the away action. Ali Khalifa is a facilitator. You get Jackson Robinson curling and finishing at the rim. Sean, what is going on here that fans should be excited about?
Well, what was it I said a moment ago? They put pressure on you within the first 10 seconds of the shot clock. So I think that basket was scored with about 20 left on the shot clock. So this is away because the point guard goes away from the pass. And right here, it's what happens at the initial contact on this pin down and this curl. Keep going here, Daniel. Freeze it. Watch the top of the screen. That exchange has now changed the helpline entirely. So that split second, you're watching the top 2 defenders there at the top of the screen. First of all, you never show the back of your head to the guy you're guarding, and you got to see ball, see man. Nobody there is seeing ball. So as soon as Jackson Robinson gets the ball here from Khalifa, the help is too late. And it's all because of the exchange at the top. So if you roll it all the way back, Daniel. So this is right into it, 24 seconds, just a simple exchange at the top of the screen.
So Sean, with that, you're going to be seeing Jackson obviously as the attacker more often than not at Kentucky. But when he gets to that point where he beats the coverage, the help starts collapsing a hair too late, he then has a guy wide open to the right corner, or he also has the trail man left open in the left corner. Personnel wise, what is going to be there for Kentucky? Is that going to be a Kobe Brea in the right corner, wide open 3, second option for Jackson in that exact scenario?
Yeah, I mean, any of those guys that can shoot the basketball, Kobe Brea, even Kirk Reese off the ball can knock down that shot. We know, Andrew Carr, if he's in the game. I mean, Ainsley Almanor, the list goes on and on with guys that can make shots off the ball. But if that help is there, the thing that you see is look where the guys get to, Jack. Like, they're so disciplined at not shrinking the floor. Like, offensively, you don't want to shrink it. You want to be so hard to guard. So when that action rolls again here, pay attention to the exchange and how disciplined they are with their spacing. Watch the pin down here, and boom, off the pin, we're right back. And then at the top of the screen, we're extending that space and being disciplined and keeping that space.
So Dalen Hall was obviously BYU's kind of it's hard to say their lead point guard because they did just have so many different options and guys that brought the ball up the floor. But who would be Kentucky's version of Dalen Hall in that away action, who could see the flare out for the catch and shoot 3 or however? Is that going to be a Kirk Reese? Do you how do you, for a I don't want to say non-shooter, but Lamont Butler isn't a go-to shooter. How would you, with Kentucky specific personnel, utilize that away?
Well, to me, it's going to be one of those spots that interchange so much, because when you watch BYU, it's going to be different guys in these spots constantly. It's going to be, the action's going to change. You're going to see Jackson Robinson setting that pin down some. And then if they reject that, then he comes off a dribble handoff. So there's going to be a variety of things that you see. To me, a Lamont Butler, when I look at him, or an Otega Oweh, I look at guys that can touch the paint. Those, to me, are going to be your guys that are going to initiate some power plays. even a Jackson Robinson, getting downhill, drawing a second defender, earn a second defender, and play from that. So that's the things that I'm looking for. But you'll see all these guys change spots throughout these clips. So it's a variety, which then in turn, Jack, makes you so unpredictable and so hard to scout and so hard to guard. And this is transition offense. I mean, that's early offense. Getting into that's their delay offense. So they don't have the pitch ahead or anything, and then they delay it by going straight into the 5 in the middle third, and then they play out of that. That's where I keep coming from with the big. So roll it back one more time, Daniel, and look at the respect that Khalifa earns. Look where the defender's at. Suffocating, right? Because of his ability to shoot the basketball. So that's where I'm talking about that the 5's got to have that type of respect within his game to be able to help Kentucky and to be able to, and what that does is it lifts that big, and now look at all the spacing you got. And when you've probably heard for 3 or 4 days leading up to this game, BYU can shoot the ball. They can shoot the ball. They can shoot the ball. You get what's happening at the top of the screen. And then at the bottom of the screen, you get the chase, and that's just a beautiful read by Jackson Robinson too.
So we're going to be seeing a lot of Ali Khalifa as the point man on these facilitating actions. A lot of, I mean, he is the kind of the spearheading a lot of this stuff. Ali Khalifa did not end up following Mark Pope to Kentucky. He is rehabbing for a redshirt season at Louisville. That's what made the Amari Williams signing so crucial for Pope. Like he has talked about that ad nauseum. Like even at his last press conference, when somebody asked, like, what was the most surprising thing for you through 6 practices? Like, what has been the one thing that's kind of stood out to you? He said, well, nothing has surprised me. Because like we talked about in the last show, when you have so much film on these guys, you kind of just want them to be the exact person that they were on that film. You don't want any surprises. That you brought them in for a specific reason. And what jumped off the film for him was Amari Williams' passing ability. However, he does not have the ability to stretch the floor that Ali does. What is the give and take with that, Sean? Obviously, he's more versatile, defensively especially. So he has other positive attributes, but he does not have the floor stretching ability that Ali does. How much does that help or hurt Kentucky with what we saw BYU?
And see, that's another thing that I've got to get into with him, because how much of his tape was that just wasn't how Drexel played? Like, what are his career? I mean, he has knocked down some threes, I believe, in his career, right? Is it
just not a?
It's not a high volume,
right?
It's not a lot. So I'm wondering, when you get into these workouts that they're doing right now, is that part that they're repping? Does he have the ability that you're going to see Khalifa? I don't know if Khalifa does it in any of these, but not only does he keep, but he keeps and goes.
Mm-hmm.
And he gets downhill and he finishes. I mean, Amari's a strong guy. Like, is that something you're going to be able to see him do from that spot? Do they slide an Andrew Carr into that spot?
Who is also a dynamic passer as well.
Yep. So that you got some variety there with it. But the more I look at what they're doing, though, I just think that the way Pope is recruited here and the shooters that he's brought in, the high IQ players, I think you're going to see guys thrive in the system just because of the space alone. Like, the space around the 5, it's going to at least occupy it enough, right? Like, if you got Kobe Bray out there, if you got Kirk Risa, if you got these guys that can shoot the basketball, Jackson Robinson, there's 3 guys that can stroke it. If you leave those guys open, they're going to make shots. So in return, even if your big is dropping, you've still got space. So I'm excited to see what Kentucky does with it. This is more so what BYU does, but I'm willing to bet that this is the blueprint that got off the plane with Mark Pope. And this is what he's going to do. Now, somebody in the comments was telling me not to share too much for the opponents. Well, here's the thing. Texas had a ton of film, and they give up what they're doing there. Like, this action is not – it's not just predictable stuff. Like, there's things that they do and the way that they disguise their schemes and what they want to get into. They'll run some scissor cuts. They'll do a lot of different stuff, Jack. They run Spain action. They'll punch it in the post. They do all kinds of different things that there's a variety of it. And you're going to see 2 different bigs, but they both thrive in their own right. And that's what I'm thinking you could get with Amari Williams or an Andrew Carr or whoever is in those spots. You don't want them to essentially necessarily be the same, because if they are, then what are you really doing? You want to have some type of mix there that you're getting this when one's on the floor, you're getting this with the other one. Ainsley Almanor maybe is the 4, Jack, possibly.
That's
Some of
potentially
those
another one. Yep.
there's a lot of variety there that Mark Pope has. The same variety. No, I don't know if it's the same variety because I want to see what it looks like, but this is obviously a system that Mark Pope had at BYU that was just ingrained in these guys, and they move and they cut with a purpose.
So let's jump into clip 2 that is completely different than kind of what we're talking about as the 5-out prioritizing 3-point looks. They get out into transition. Dalen Hall leading the charge again. Fousseyni Traore, who is, I think, probably the closer comp to Amari Williams, whereas, not an outside shooter, but uses his body to his advantage, likes to find mismatches. That's exactly what he finds here. You get the switch off the ball screen, gets the post, the quick delivery to Traore. A true kind of post-up situation here where I think Brandon Garrison, maybe some Ainsley Almanor, some Andrew Carr, but it's going to be, Amari Williams and Brandon Garrison in this very specific situation. What do you like about this, and who do you think could be the Dalen Hall in this exact situation?
Well, right here, this is another one where you look 28 seconds on the shot clock, and this is here's right into a drag screen. So you get the drag screen, you get the switch, but watch the 3 guys off the ball. They don't run to the basketball. They don't cut. They have the IQ and the awareness to know that this is going to be a post up here. Or if not, you've got a big on a small, and you're going to break it down and get in the lane. But as the clip rolls, we're fighting for position early, but watch our spacing around. We're in the corners. We're on our X's. We've kept our spacing. And we get the post up and we get exactly what we want. Just off that switch. Just a simple drag screen transition to get a switch, and then buries him right in front of the rim. Like, that's just outworking somebody. So who's that going to be for Kentucky? That to me could be an Amari Williams setting a drag and then going straight to the post there. From a guard standpoint, any of those guys, Jack, Kirk Risa, you're talking Lamont Butler, like, you just got to have the IQ to recognize what you're getting in that situation, and that's early offense. That's not a set. That's just a thing that they do in transition, where they'll set the drag, they'll go away screen, they'll do some different things there. They'll hit the big and run their delay action and get into some zoom. Like, there's just the communication that they have and knowing what they want to do and where they are on the floor, but everybody's to their spots and the spacing is disciplined.
And I love, Sean, that's off in inbounds. Like that's off of an opposing score. So we talk about this being a transition opportunity. This isn't off a rebound or a steal or a block shot. Like, this is just them getting out in transition organically to lead, as you said, 28 seconds with left on the shot clock, already getting into their stuff. You're going to be seeing a boatload of this season under Mark Pope.
You are. So this basket scored, let's see here, 24 seconds on the shot clock, literally gets a touch at 21, 22 seconds right in front of the rim.
That is so just
there's not like next level, high level scheme going on. It's just a mismatch. During the switch. And then how do they play out that drag if there's not anything there? Then you got a guard trying to get downhill. You got shooters off the ball. You got a shooter on this corner. I mean, there's so many things that's nothing that Mark Pope's having to stand over there and go, hey, guys, let's get into this. Let's do this. No, they just know I can drag it. I can hit it and go away. Like, there's all these things that they can do. That early offense, and I'll even shorten it, in that 25 to 30, that 25 to 30 range of the shot clock, you're having to guard something. And if there's nothing there, then you're flowing into what you're doing next. There's no stall and have a guard come get it, and then we're getting into something else. It is a flow. So if they don't have something there off that drag, they're flowing into something else. Maybe off that drag, we don't get a long roll. We get a pop, we hit the big, and then we go right into some zoom away from it. Like, they're just reacting and playing basketball. And to me, it's not overcoaching. It's well-trained players that know the system and know how to play off each other. And that's unpredictable.
Let's roll in straight in. You brought up Zoom. Let's roll straight into clip 3, where you get let's see, it should be right after this. So you get Foose off the zoom straight into a handoff catch and shoot three for Jackson Robinson. Sean, you are going to see 45 million of those this season with Pope and Jackson. I mean, this is Pope's bread and butter. This is Jackson Robinson's bread and butter. If you're looking for a comfort zone with this offense, with Jackson Robinson as a shooting specialist, this is his play.
Yeah, and look where it's at in the shot clock. 26 seconds.
That is filthy. That's just not fair.
So that's their delay offense again. That's hitting the 5-man in the center of the floor out of that trail position and right into some zoom. We've seen Jackson Robinson curl off away action in the first clip. Here, he sprints through the pin, sprints right through the dribble handoff, and lifts, and the ball goes through the net with 23 seconds. 23 seconds. They're up 15. They're not slowing down. I mean, they're keeping this thing going, and they're playing with the pace. That's going to set up, and you're going to see something similar in clip 5. I know we're skipping a clip. I probably should have put 5 in 4 spot. But you get the 3, and that's where Jackson Robinson is so lethal and so hard to guard, because we've seen him make a great read off the ball in the curl. We see him watch the cut with a purpose. So here's first clip. No, sorry, that's clip 5.
Yeah, this is 5.
All right, go back to the one that we were just talking about, Daniel. So the one is the zoom and transition. Watch how hard he cuts off this jack. I mean, he's cutting with a purpose. Like, cut with a purpose, good things happen. You got your spacing on the weak side of the floor here. Lifts and hits a 3. 23 seconds on the shot clock. So you've seen them go away in transition. You've seen them drag screen. You've seen them go through their delay and go to zoom. All this out of transition. None of this is walk it up, throw it in from the side. This is all offense in transition in the flow of the game.
Sean, explain the benefits of that for an offense. Last year's kind of the anomaly. We've had exceptions. Obviously, that 2016-17 team with De'Aaron Fox and Malik Monk, they played fast. But last season was kind of just the outlier for what we had seen in recent years under Calipari. Just what are the benefits of getting into your stuff as quickly as Pope does? From a transition perspective, from a pacing perspective, and what are the downfalls of that? Because it's obviously leads to potentially reckless play, some careless turnovers, bad shots, potentially just rushing things. So, what are kind of the pros and cons with that?
So, to me, the pros of it are you're using every second of it, right? You're not waiting into the final 12, 13 seconds of a shot clock to get some offense. You're putting pressure on teams early, and I keep saying, you're going to see a team that's going to put some pressure at the rim because they're going to do some rim runs and things. They're going to sprint to the corner. And that sprint to the corner, Jack, when these guys get to the corner, it's about spacing. What that does is it creates those double gaps. If you get to the corner early, it creates double gaps in transition. That's where you earn power plays. So that's what it's about to me. You want that full 30 seconds trying to get to that power play that Mark Pope's looking for. The cons to me, when you have a high IQ team and you run really good stuff and you teach them to cut with a purpose every single time that they cut, I don't know if there is a downfall, because I still think that they're going to be able to execute late in clock with some of the stuff that they do, because maybe that's when it gets to, all right, is there a guy that we're looking to play through here? But if you remember, my comments for the last 2.5 months have always been, it's the system. It's not a single player at Kentucky and with Mark Pope. It's the system. Jackson Robinson thrived in it. He thrived in it last year with the ball in his hands. He thrives in it coming off of action, making reads and back cuts, being able to shoot the 3, being a spot-up shooter off the ball. Like, as we go through the next couple of weeks, we're probably going to need more than one film room, I'm assuming. We're going to have a lot of different clips of him scoring the ball in a variety of ways. That's, to me, what makes him the most important piece early, because he's ran and been involved in this stuff. But I don't know if I can find a negative to it. I mean, the fast pace it's not allowing defenses to have any type of break. So if they score, you got to guard instantly. If you miss, you better forget about it because you're guarding right now. And you have to communicate and talk early. The thing is, though, to me, to be a good transition team, you got to know what you're doing. You got to be structured and organized, but you've got to communicate early. Defensively, it's very important, Jack, to communicate early. There's times I think BYU communicates before defense does. I think they know what they're doing.
So you talked a little bit about power play a little bit before. Let's jump into clip 4 where you get that power play in transition. Should be right after this. You get a Richie Saunders catching and shooting for the 3. Kind of walk through that power play one more time and just kind of what we're going to be seeing with that in Lexington.
Well, this is where you have a rim run. So this is the first one we're seeing where we're putting a rim runner there. That's what gets the skip cross court. And you probably can take the shot. This is an unselfish play here. Look at this. He can take this. Like, this shot can be taken. Instead,
and Spencer Johnson took plenty of them for BYU.
But look where he's at. Sprinting to the corners in transition. You sprint, and then we create some gaps here, and we can get downhill. He wins a closeout. Boom. Earns a second defender. Now we're reading here. Are we reading the dunker spot or the pitch out? Great read. Actually earns 3 defenders. Boom. That's a power play. And that's Mark Pope or whoever's sitting on that bench charting that. Hey, we got a power play right there. Look where it's at. 22 seconds on the shot clock. Made 3. And that's right off the heels of the play that they had just a moment ago where they get a quick action, I think, right? Is this was the Oklahoma State game? The Jackson. Okay, so go back, Daniel, to the beginning of that play. You got the rim runner. That's what sets this up. So this is where running to the rim actually opens things up for you. So this is a great read by Jackson Robinson. Has to tag there. But look where the ball's at. 27 seconds and the ball's in the deep corner for what's good enough to be an open shot. Instead, you understand power plays. You understand situations. I beat this guy. I'm earning another defender. Dunker spot over top. Nothing there. Watch the discipline and spacing. Nobody else is cutting. Everybody stays disciplined. They don't shrink the floor. Because you've already shrunk it. You've already shrunk it defensively. Look where everybody's at defensively. I mean, you've got multiple options.
And with that dunker spot, that's Foose at 6'6". So imagine that being Amari Williams at 6'11", Brandon Garrison 6'10". Like, you're going to have lob opportunities on that exact situation.
Yeah, and I'm trying to keep up with the chat too. And the question is, how will Pope adjust offensively when the threes aren't falling? He'll keep shooting them.
You shoot 45 of them instead of 35.
You shoot, like, he's going to keep shooting them because that's how they play. They play with that space. And if you've played 17, 18, 22, 23 minutes of a game and they're not shooting the ball well from 3, what they've done to that point is still what they are and who they are. And that last 17 minutes of the game, Jack, they may get hot. And that may be what Kentucky does this year. They may go on a run where they hit 5 or 6 in the final 15 minutes of the game, where they only hit 2 in the first 20 plus. So stay true to who you are. But I'm telling you, the spacing and the discipline to not shrink the floor offensively.
Mm-hmm.
Ever shrink the floor offensively. Because if you do, you're taking away your strength. You've already done that, and it's a paint touch. Ball's in the paint. Wide open 3. Beautiful read, by the way. Jackson Robinson is involved in a lot of these plays. That's a great pass, on time, on target, finish.
And I know, like, Richie Saunders, who hit that 3, was a guy that Kentucky obviously recruited heavily and would have taken. He talked through his decision, said it broke my heart to turn down Mark Pope, but to replace Richie Saunders with a Kobe Brea and to add a Kerr Kriisa and to have an Andrew Carr and different shot makers at that position, like, it sucks because I think he would have been a tremendous player for us, but there are so many different options there that in that exact circumstance, whether it be the lob to an Amari Williams or the kick out to for the open shot for a Kobe Bray. I mean, that's going to be Kobe's bread and butter right there. He's going to be the, oh crap, how did we leave that guy open on so many different occasions this season, because you have so many other guys, so many other moving parts doing their thing, that somebody's going to be, left behind always. As we see Richie Saunders, there's no reason to leave that guy open, but he always, it happens, and he's going to get clean looks. If it's not him, it's going to be Jackson Robinson. If it's not him, it's going to be Kirk Reese. So there are just so many different guys, and that's what, watching this stuff and dissecting it, it's just like, man, Kentucky's going to score a lot of points. They're going to hit a lot of shots this season.
So that's 4 clips, correct?
Yep.
All 4 of them 20 in that 20 to 30 range of the shot clock. Made baskets. Early offense, you're up 18, and you're still pushing the pace.
So you brought up the 9-man rotation thing. What does that open the door for, understanding the dynamics of prioritizing shot making? Does that open the door for a Trent Noah or a Travis Perry or a Colin Chandler, or is it likely going to be, sticking to that 9, or does it go to 10, 11, 12?
So those 2 guys can do the things that we're seeing right here, right? They can knock down shots. They can run the floor. I mean, you're seeing guys cut and play in space. Like, you're not having to see a whole lot of beating guys off the bounce. Like, that play right there was literally a sprint to the corner, cross-court pass, you won 1 closeout. That's all you had to do there. You win 1 closeout. There's nothing crazy going on there. You're not having to dance with the basketball. You're just having to win 1 closeout to get 3 points for your team. And look where the ball's at. The ball's gone from corner to the middle of the paint in the first 5 seconds of the shot clock and out. So you get spacing created in the corner. You get a paint touch and a 3. And all of it's happened in the first 5 seconds of the shot clock. Ball's in the corner, ball's in the paint, ball's in the shooter's hands.
And don't discount Kentucky's better athletes as well. And Spencer Johnson on that drive, that's going to be a left-handed finish for a Lamont Butler or an Otega Owe. That, that's the prioritizing those gaps in the power plays. You're going to get better opportunities for the athletes.
And the over the top to the dunker spot too. Like, if there are times where there's a guy in that dunker spot, like we've not seen much where there is a dunker spot guy. The other place, there was nobody in the dunker spot. In this one, transition and what was presented, it presented a rim run. If you're not running to the rim there, you're easy to guard. But that rim run in transition is what gets the cross-court pass that now creates the advantage. So watch the big. Watch the defender guarding the dunker spot.
Mm-hmm.
That's got to be a quick read, quick decision both ways. BYU makes the right read, but watch the space at the top. It's not anything towards the ball. It's actually away from the ball. Watch him back up as this clip rolls, creating that space, because you're not shrinking the floor.
I mean, that seeing Richie Saunders with nobody within 12 feet of him is just it's sick. It is sick.
And
Jackson Robinson immediately to his left. Like, you have 2 elite shooters just having a ham sandwich out on the perimeter. I mean, it's this is against Oklahoma State. Like, it wasn't a great, season for them, obviously, but like, it's not like this is Sisterhood of the Blind that they're playing. Like, this is a Big 12 competition where you're finding unbelievable mismatches and just out scheming. Tenfold. It's insanity.
And like I said, the discipline to keep the floor spaced. You're going to hear me say that a ton. So there's a power play. You're disciplined. You read the dunker spot. First of all, can I finish? No. Help comes. Nothing over the top, because we're cracking down there. And then we make the right read. I mean, we've got guys literally going to the paint Essentially, 5 guys are trying to get in there and stop the basketball. That's beautiful offense. And that's nothing that's just scripted here and up and down the floor like, oh, we got to run this or we got to run floppy or we got to run whatever we're running. No, that is offense and it's early. But it's designed because they're trained to play that way. Get to those corners, create those double gaps, and let's play.
All right, let's keep rolling. We got clip 5 coming up. I think saw it for a second, but let's run through it again. All right, yeah, here we go. We got zoom action. We got Jackson Robinson getting it, and this is him just taking it and going. This is a read for him that when we describe Jackson as a bucket getter, this is the example where he takes it and finds his own mismatches, finds his own momentum, and carries himself to the basket for one-on-one finish at the rim.
Yeah, and this is a clip that's obviously been clipped and tagged. There's synergy because you got the delay zoom tag up there in the top corner, but you got the pin down. But watch the space. Where am I getting to at the top of the screen? I'm out of there. And I'm creating space. And watch what's happening. There's a guy trailing that guy as this action's happening. Now, right here, his pickup is perfectly timed. We're not getting this thing dug out. So as he comes off this and he puts it on the floor, as he gets towards the rim, we're not letting this thing get stolen. But look at the way we're not helping off that strong side corner there because we can't. And that's where your personnel comes into play. If you got non-shooters standing out there, you can dig down. And then you're just making yourself hard to guard. But it's getting to that space and understanding I don't shrink the floor. Look at the 3 guys around the perimeter. You got one lifting on the backside, got a guy here, and then you got the kick out if you draw help. But that's just playing with the pace again. So you had the back cut. We've seen him make a back, or we've seen him curl off that away action. We've seen him sprint through the dribble handoff and rise up and hit a 3, which was in this game. And then now we've seen him play through that. He has a little bit of a pace when he catches the dribble handoff. It's not an immediate go, and now he realizes the advantage he has, straight to the rim.
Well, in that exact hesitation, we've seen him cross back and lift for a step back 3 there. So it's that second, third read for him where he sees his momentum carrying. He knows he has the defender beat off the left shoulder, that he can then say, I know that this guy can't stop me at the rim. I'm going to go finish there. But he's also proven time and time again he can step back and lift for clearing his own space for a 3. That's what makes Jackson just so freaking dynamic. And we can go forward to the next clip as well. It's another zoom with a similar vibe. Ali Khalifa is a point man. He curls, and then you get another, that's money. That's butter. That is, we're going to see 1,000 of those this season.
So the play before that was the latest we had seen a basket, about 15 seconds on the shot clock. Here we are again into that same delay. So we don't have anything initially in transition. So at 24, 25 seconds, the ball's in the big's hands. Ali keeps. So that's a keep, but I call that a long curl. That's a long curl off that zoom. Where the first one, I'd call it a short curl.
Mm-hmm.
We come off in front of off the pin down. This one is a long curl because we come all the way around the dribble handoff. We keep it, but watch what's happening at the bottom of the screen. It's the same stuff that you're seeing. So roll it all the way back, Daniel. So off this little handoff right here. Watch what's happening defensively. We're occupied here because we've got shooters. We've got space. But watch how they talk to one another and how they understand where they want to go. So not even watching Jackson Robinson the top. We're watching the bottom. Look at this, pointing. That point right there, I'm telling you, that one point where we reach out a left arm occupies what's going on over here, because these two are so worried about what am I going to have to guard off the ball that I'm in no position to help. And this is what I get by saying Mark Pope and the way BYU plays changes the help line. That is not where you're supposed to be. But
that's
it's where,
why
where you have to be, though, when you're playing against teams that shoot the ball. But you're seeing Hunter Dickinson's obviously dropping back here. And BYU actually makes them pay at times with some Ali Khalifa threes because of that willingness to drop. But that's a perfectly timed pass placed. There's nobody there, Jack. That's an easy finish at the rim.
Ali Khalifa's good, man.
He's very good. he's very good. It's an excellent pass, but it's knowing. So right here, 25 seconds, we know who and where we're wanting to get the ball to, and we know what we're doing because look where Jackson Robinson. So roll it back just a little bit, Daniel, as far back as we can go. Jackson Robinson's getting to that deep corner, and we're doing the same thing on the bottom here. We're getting our spacing by running in transition. We don't have a rim runner. We could go drag screen this. Instead, we do a handoff and then right into some zoom. So there's so many variety of things that they can do. But that long curl, you see them do that a lot, and it's actually the next clip too.
Let's keep it rolling.
So we create space, long curl.
Gosh.
Roll it back because I want to talk about what's happening at the top of the screen again. So we get the cut. I think that's Waterman cutting, right?
Waterman's cutting. You have Trevin Nell cutting, coming off the zoom for the curl.
So Waterman's cutting. Now watch what happens with the defenders at the top of the screen. That simple exchange creates, we're point switching here, but watch our head. That next line of help, we're so occupied that we're not in position to get to the rim to help. We've once again changed the help line.
Ali Khalifa is just so filthy.
Another long curl. And there we are. And you see the whole bench over here going, oh my gosh, what are you doing? We've talked about this for 2 days. It don't matter. It's moving with a purpose. It's cutting with a purpose. That cut right there just initiates something going to the weak side. And now, next thing you know, that's the next line of help, and it's not there. That's a beautiful pass.
So
he did that all season, by the way.
Oh, I know. That's why I really wanted him, man. And when we found out that he was rehabbing the knee, it's like, okay, well, I get why you wouldn't want to keep him on scholarship, but man, he's electric. I mean, he's got his flaws. He's not very aesthetically pleasing at times, especially defensively or as an athlete. But my goodness, if there's a better passing big in college basketball, I have to see him. I mean, he's tremendous. I'm very glad that he's going to be redshirting and out of sight, out of mind this season for Louisville. So this next play is fascinating, Sean, because I think we're going to be seeing a lot of this with some of the two big sets, Andrew Carr, Brandon Garrison, Amari Williams kind of sharing the floor at various times. Walk me through this one because we get it's the same look as the other two, but we're playing with two bigs now, Waterman in the dunker spot here.
It's the exact same result, except you've got somebody in that dunker spot to start with. But watch the lift, and here's what happens. So right now, the way that this is going is you've got Waterman in the dunker spot. Is that I believe that's Waterman.
Yeah.
I can't tell. So right here, now freeze. The way this is initially set up, Waterman's defender is the next line of help. Lifting him changes the help. And watch how fast this happens. So as we lift, the next line of help is not in position off the long curl. It changes the help defender. Just lifting him out of that spot and the timing of it. So as the zoom action is coming here, it's in hand with it. So we're lifting, but keeping our space because that's a shooter. We're not coming to the top of the key. We're more slotting over. And then we get the long curl off of it. And if there's nothing off that long curl, then we've got an empty side action right here at the bottom of the screen. So if they don't get this long curl, Khalifa's keeping something on this side and they're playing a two-man game. But it's empty and you've got double gaps. You've got things created where you can do some stuff with it. So it's just all about creating those advantages and those opportunities. But that's 3 straight long curl cuts out of Zoom. And a lot of it is just design and scheme and changing. And Wyoming is in no position to guard that. That's bad defense there. But also at the same time, you look over to your right and you see your next line of help, and then you look back and then poof, there's a guy laying it up at the rim. That's just the way BYU played.
All right, let's keep it rolling. Believe we have an away, if I have the clips right, we have an away action on this one.
Yeah, we reject it. And then a get. And I call this a power play. So I've not sat down and talked to Mark Pope, but this to me would be one of Mark Pope's power plays. So rolling the initial action. So this is probably the latest we've seen them get into something, right?
Mm-hmm.
So is that as far back as we can go here, Daniel? Let's go all the way back to where they reject it. So we got some away action here. And the guy that rejects the away or the stagger ends up getting the shot at the end of this possession. So we reject it, creates that space. And I watched the communication here in this corner. Lift up, and now Jackson Robinson spaces it. We run some get action. The threat of shooting draws 2. Now I've earned a second defender. This is where I say this is a power play. Now it's about making a read out of this, earning the second defender. I can't make the wrong read or I'm giving up a basket the other way. Because if I try to hit Waterman here, that's possibly a passing lane that's being shot and we got to lay up the other way or a dunk. Instead, we make an elite level pass. On time, on target, delivery, and we finish it. That's why Mark Pope says the delivery is the most important part. If that pass is a fraction off to the right or the left, now we're playing with 15 seconds on the shot clock and we wasted a power play. And now we've got to do something. We've got to beat somebody and get off the bounce. We've already earned it. Now we can't waste it. And that's Kirk Carissa, by the way, in that play.
And that's also Spencer Johnson, who passed up that corner 3 earlier.
But like, it's just crazy because like you see how they're having to guard. So we're rejecting the away action. And right here, Jackson Robinson's waiting because you could have come. So when
you froze again. This is weird. He never.
I'm here.
You froze again. Do it again.
All right. So roll it all the way back for me if we can. It might be where we're doing the video too. I don't know. All right. So right here, when we reject this initial away action, Jack. So we reject it. That triggers Jackson Robinson to be the next guy. So he's thinking, okay, I'm going to come off this away. So that's why you see him start to move, but watch this. He reads it. So he's like, I got to space it. Watch where he goes. He creates the space and the separation. He moves as far away as he can. Now we get a get action. We get the ball in the middle third of the floor, get a guy trailing, big has to help. Rim run occupies the tag downhill, and we get an elite level pass on time, on target, and we get a finish. That's a power play to me. That's a Mark Pope power play.
All right, let's. We have one more, I believe, right? I think it's another away into another power play. I think
so. I think this is where we get empty. Yeah. So we get it away. So roll it back one time here, just so I can explain what I'm talking about. So we saw them reject on the last one. So this is where I was talking about that Jackson Robinson would have been the next guy to come off that action. So we come off of it. He sees how the defender's playing. And then watch who the ball gets to at 20 seconds. And then right here, that cut has now emptied out this side of the floor. So now we're empty, and we go right into an empty side 2-man action right here. earn a second defender. He rejects that ball screen, goes baseline. Now here's where you got to make the read. This is where those drills, those situations, those 3-on-3s, you train these guys. Not able to finish at the rim, but I'm using it. I'm getting there. I'm not getting myself too deep on the baseline. But look, we got a guy in the corner. Look at the guy shaking up here at the top of the key. Look at our spacing. And Jackson Robinson's the right read.
And this is what we talked about earlier with Otega Owe with a Lamont Butler. When you get that clear out and you're getting basically a one-on-one with the advantage to the rim, you're going to see the better athlete. Like this is Dalen Hall, going one-on-one. He's not the superior athlete that Otega Owe is or Lamont Butler is as a finisher. So you're going to see better advantages for the help to lead to, better open, catch and shoot looks as well. Ready-made for Mark Pope's offense, specifically for an Otega Owe or Lamont Butler. A couple other examples, but I think those are going to be the two that really take advantage of this specific play.
It is. And, like I said, back to the power play topic, and I'm assuming that as we go through press conferences and games and stuff this season, Jack, maybe we blow his mind a little bit and we ask him about power plays. But they're trying to find as many as they can get. They try to find it in the half court. They try to find it in transition. This is flowing into offense out of transition. This is a way action to start it. They don't have anything initially. And then watch how they don't shrink the floor, though. The floor's not being shrunk. The video's blurry for me, too, so I don't know if it's just –
it is, too.
Okay, so we're shrinking it, but look at the spacing we're maintaining.
Just look at the white jerseys.
Yeah.
the white blurry pixels. Look at that.
So we're finding the white jerseys here, but what we got is all this action is forcing guys to communicate. So now we didn't shrink the floor, but now we're sending a guy through. We're cutting, and then we end up getting empty in a situation. But you watch and see here. So they're trying to get the help. We're trying to be fundamentally sound and disciplined in what our principles are defensively. And I know all teams play it. A lot of coaches play it differently. Some coaches, if you play pack line, they'll change the help line. They'll change some different things. But right here, earn that second defender. We reject it. Now, Khalifa is good enough to shape up right there for a throwback.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't even show any clips of Khalifa knocking down threes. Like I said, probably got to get to part 2 because there are some other things offensively that they do in that system that I do want to show and talk about. And they run some Spain action. They run some scissor cuts. They do some different things. You're gonna see a variety of offense from Mark Pope in Kentucky. But most importantly, the one takeaway from me here is the spacing. Watch where guys are. There's no wasted movement, Jack. Feet are set. We're all shot ready. We're ready to play. I mean, that pass can go anywhere, really. But he makes the right read because if that thing goes corner, now we're in an X-out situation there, and possibly we don't have the wide open look. So that's where the delivery is the most important part of the power play. And you may deliver, let's say you get 15 power plays. You may deliver on 10 of them, but you may finish on only 6 or 7 of them.
Mm-hmm.
But if you only deliver on 7, maybe you only finish on 4. So it's the delivery that's the most important part. The finish is going to be here and there. Like if you make a shot or you miss a shot, but the delivery cost us the opportunity to finish it.
Man, that's wraps up the clips that we have. But I guess thinking now, taking another step back, thinking big picture, what is the takeaway you hope listeners and viewers of this when they see all of this in action and knowing that this is, a micro fraction of the big picture, how many different options and actions that they have, kind of in their arsenal ready to roll. What is the takeaway for them to give them that confidence that you should be really, really excited going into this season?
I think seeing it on tape, and obviously we know that people have watched and stuff, Jack, but seeing how that looked effortless and easy for them running offense. And at no point did I ever think that they looked panicked. And there are a couple plays that I found where teams did a good job maybe blowing up some action, but this is where Khalifa was very good. And this is where I'm looking for one of these bigs at Kentucky has to take ownership of that spot and be the most comfortable, be the most skilled, be the most confident. Because there were a couple of times that maybe option one, option two was blown up, and then Khalifa just has the presence and the awareness to not lose his composure, and then he delivers an on time, on target backdoor pass to somebody for a layup wide open because they don't stop moving. Like at no point, the only time that they stopped moving is when they were just creating space to play off of whatever was happening. Because you got to understand gaps. And we've talked a ton. I know me and you've talked a lot about single gaps, double gaps, triple gaps. You've got to understand those. There's times when you drive it, there's times when you cut, there's times when you don't. You got to understand, like, they do some things, and a lot of teams will do this. This isn't anything that's out of the ordinary, but on a post up, they'll run some split action. Like they're not just standing and relocating off of a post touch. Like there's something designed there, and they know, okay, I can do one or two things here. They run a lot of different things. It's such a wide variety of options that they have, Jack, that I just think that they're so hard to scout that you're going to see Kentucky. I told somebody this over the weekend or over the week in the holiday. You're going to see Kentucky, to me, are they offering and targeting some guys that maybe aren't in that upper 15 to 20 of the high school recruiting rankings? This is where evaluating talent and fit actually exceeds whatever the ranking is, because I think they're going to be able to find gems on the recruiting trail because they have a sense and an awareness of what they're evaluating. These guys come to Kentucky already being able to do this. There's no having to build shots. There's no having to work on jumpers. They recruit those guys because they put them in systems like this that create space, and they teach them how to cut, and they teach them how to play. And the system is what makes it so good. It's the system, Jack. I'm telling you, the system is what's going to be the strength of this program. That's what's going to make them so hard to guard as they get throughout. Now, I don't know what this team's going to do as far as expectations and wins and losses. I don't. But I think that you're going to see a team that's going to be able to probably cause a lot of teams fits on the offensive end of the floor. But they've also added 3 and some really good defenders to the mix to kind of – but those guys that are defenders are also capable of playing in this because there's so much space. So to me, it's – I don't see Mark Pope swinging and missing on this. Mm-hmm. I think that this is a blueprint that a lot of people are going to look at and study. And now that he's at Kentucky, I think there's going to be a lot more eyes on it. And I think you're seeing a respect. And listen, I've got more respect for him in the last 2 months because I'm like, holy cow, this is really good stuff. But you got to have the personnel to fit it, to run it. He recruits to his personnel, he plays to it, and the system is strong.
And that's the importance of recruiting to Kentucky and using those resources to find the right fits, but also dudes who can win those one-on-ones, who can have the athletic advantage, the length advantage, the, finding a 3-and-D threat that is a coin flip 3-point shooter, but also a, absolute dynamite defender on the perimeter, or, an excellent team defender. You can find elite talent that can kind of do everything, not just specialists that Kobe Brea is the best shooter in college basketball, might be a defensive liability, might not be just this otherworldly playmaker, but exactly what he's going to do. You're going to be able to find some Kobe Breas who can also lock you down defensively, who can also kind of beat you off the dribble and do some other creative things as well. There's no disrespect to Kobe Brea. He's a phenomenal player. And while we're on the topic, there's some talk about why is he not being shown in a lot of these videos? And there's some concern. Is he hurt? Is there something like that? I checked in on his situation. He's fine. Some lingering stuff from his time at Dayton that, as we're in these early stages of summer practices, you don't want to throw him in with the Sharks while his body's healing and just kind of getting to full strength. And, he's a 5th-year senior. He's going to be, he's older. His body's breaking down. He's a college vet. So nothing wrong. I've confirmed that he's totally fine. just kind of taking things slow. So I wouldn't expect to see him in a lot of these, once the practice video rolls out of him, full 5-on-5 stuff. I wouldn't be shocked to see him either a limited participant or a non-participant, at least here in the early stage of the summer. We still have eight weeks total. We're only I think this is wrapping up week 3 of practice. So still not even halfway through the summer schedule here. So plenty of time, just taking things slow with him. He's going to be a dynamite player for Kentucky this season. As we broke down today, there's going to be a whole heck of a lot of open shots for him.
Yeah, there is. And that's where I still feel like that 5-man and whatever they decide to do with the 5 and what options and combinations that they play, I think is going to be probably one of the more important decisions that happens with this roster. Not as much the point guard, because I think getting into this offense and initiating it, you're going to have a lot of guys that can do it. And you saw on that clip, there were a lot of different guys in a lot of different spots that just knew how to play. They knew what the next read was. If I'm running zoom and there's a reject, then I know that I'm the next guy coming off of it. If there's a keep, there's a long curl, I'm just making reads. There's plenty of clips of Jackson Robinson literally going into some of that get action and then just making a great read and back cutting it because of the space that's around it. Like, the space is what creates this. If you don't have those spacers, you don't have those clips. What you got is you got a bunch of what it was, the way it looked defensively a moment ago in that transition power play, cross-court skip pass, win a closeout. That's what it would have looked like offensively, because you'd have too many guys trying to eat the paint, and you can't have that. You've got to understand the high IQ of understanding gaps, single gaps, double gaps, triple gaps. When am I putting it on the deck? When am I cutting? Is my 45 cut going to create this gap? That's what you're looking for in today's offensive spacing. And I think Kentucky is going to be able to do that. Whether these guys were able to execute it at a high clip at their previous schools, they're going to be trained to do it now. That's why getting these summer practices are so beneficial. I'd rather be doing this right now than honestly going to Canada and playing, because I think they need to be in the gym getting this down. They're going to obviously get some up and down opportunities. We know that. So here we are. What do you think? Session 2 at some point, or?
Oh, I absolutely. Yeah. I think we'll see what the feedback is. I think fans will enjoy it. And, it's
nerd time a little bit here with me.
And that's kind of, by design. We have episodes where we talk about, bench pressing Pat Kelsey, and we have episodes where we talk about the intricacies of Mark Pope's offense. There's an episode for everybody with us. Just like there is an opportunity for everybody with Cruising for a Cause, Do You Like Car Shows, and raising money for charity, then come join Middle Ground for Cruising for a Cause on July 6th. That is tomorrow at the Valvoline World Headquarters in Lexington, Kentucky, to raise money for Habitat for Humanity. The car show begins at 11 a.m. and will wrap up at 3 p.m. There will be several awards, multiple categories, and Miss Kentucky will be in attendance. Also, multiple food trucks, top vendors, and activities for the kids. The first 100 entries to purchase their tickets online will receive a dash plaque celebrating this charity event. So come join us on July 6th. That is tomorrow morning and early afternoon to raise money for Habitat for Humanity at Cruising for a Cause. Spread the word.
We got a question on Twitter.
Okay.
And I think it's a good question. Kyle asked, in regards to the spacing on offense, does that spacing limit offensive rebounds a bit? Yes, It does. You're not going to have as many guys near the rim, but I'm willing to exchange that with getting one more point, because if you make a couple of threes, and that offensive rebound's a 50-50 chance anyhow. If I make a couple of threes, then I've kind of got that back, right? Like if I connect on one of those. Also, if we do have concerns defensively, it's going to allow you to have more guys back to help you in transition on the defensive side of this too. But that's a really good question.
And I will note that if you go back and watch a lot of those clips, Richie Saunders was the crasher. Like he was the regular putback guy that, like Chris Livingston, his season at Kentucky, where he would have offensive rebounds and putbacks and some of his opportunities where he scored, especially there the tail end of the season. Richie Saunders was that guy for Mark Pope. So is there a clear-cut guy on this roster to be that? I hope so. I would think that that's going to be a point of emphasis, because you can't have just a non-presence in that regard. Like, you're going to have somebody there in position, but ideally you have more shot makers out there where you don't need to rely on it. But just having that extra insurance policy, they had one, and it was Richie Saunders. So I wouldn't be shocked if it, I'm not sure who that person is yet. Maybe it is a Lamont Butler. You don't want to send your best shooters for as the main crashers, but you need some type of presence. So that is something I'm going to be keeping a close eye on, who that guy is going to be, preferably high motor, one of your better athletes, I would imagine. So that's still to be determined, but it was at least accounted for in some realm under Mark Pope at BYU.
Yeah. And another note with that too is the space that I've created offensively. It's also taking defensive rebounders away, because I'm stretching you out defensively. So if there is a guy in there, it's probably a one-on-one that you got to win if you do get an offensive rebound. So it's taken away somewhat of an advantage, but you are giving something up, by creating that space. And now I will tell you this, you're going to see a coach in Mark Pope that, when you were younger, did you ever have a coach tell you to follow your shot?
Yeah, all the time.
Yeah. Mark Pope, you're not following your shot. Like, you own it. He teaches you own it. You shoot it, you own it. You stand there confidently and you see it through.
That reminds me of I can't wait to tell this story to my grandkids one day when Rob Dillingham becomes a superstar in the NBA next to Ant Edwards. But I remember so vividly last year at fantasy camp, being in the huddle. I think I passed up a three, drove it, kicked it out, and somebody else missed the shot. They called a timeout. We were in the huddle, and Rob Dillingham looked at me and says, "Jack, I need you to never pass up another shot again. You need to shoot that MFer. You need to shoot that MFer." And I was like, "Rob, not all of us has the confidence that you do. Like, I'm trying, bro." So I just can't. I can't wait to 10 years, 15 years down the road when we see what Rob Dillingham becomes as a basketball player. Like, our one-on-one moment was him looking me in the eyes and saying, "Jack, you need to shoot that MFer."
It's so much better than my one-on-one moment with Rob Dillingham. My one-on-one moment was in the tunnel after they beat North Carolina, and he comes by and goes out of his way. Out of his way. I was on the phone, and he comes by, go to fist bump.
And I remember that North Carolina game. We were standing next to each other during that moment. But I remember he looked at me and gave me that nod and dabbed me up real quick. And I remember, I'm not cool. Let's just call a spade a spade. I'm not. But in that little microsecond, I was like, man, Rob Dillingham thinks I'm cool. That must mean I'm cool. He went out of his way to dap me up. The kids love Rob Dillingham, so that means that I'm popular too. No, I'm not. I'll never dream of touching Rob Dillingham's popularity with kids, with adults, with grandparents, with great grandparents. I'll never touch Rob Dillingham. He's on a whole different planet, and I'm very excited. Summer League starting. Are you excited to see some of these guys in action? The California Summer League starts first. That's tomorrow through Monday or something, and then maybe Tuesday, I think. Then there's a break, and then next Thursday, I think, through the 22nd is the Vegas Summer League. So not as many. I think Justin Edwards, Trey Mitchell will be playing in the Salt Lake City Summer League, and then Kevin Knox is the only guy playing in the California Summer League. He's playing with the Golden State Warriors, in case you were curious. And then after that, we'll get Reed Shepherd. Were you curious about Kevin Knox, where he was playing Summer League? I think you were.
Yeah, I'm curious.
I think that that question was keeping you up at night. Where in the world is Kevin Knox playing his Summer League ball? I think that was at the top of your mind. So you'll see that Justin Edwards and Trey Mitchell will play for their teams. in Salt Lake City, and then you'll see Reed, Rob, Oscar, some of those guys in Vegas next week. So I'm personally looking forward to it because I would watch any type of basketball because it's my favorite thing in the world.
I'm excited to watch basketball. Although I probably need to take tonight off when it comes down to it. I've watched a lot of film the last week and a half.
There's a lot of build up to this episode. You were really counting down the minutes to this one.
Yeah, and we've got a lot of stuff to get into the next one. I think that this is a cool way to kind of bridge the off season to the actual season when we get here in the fall. So excited to see where we go from here. But I appreciate everybody listening. Hopefully, I didn't go overboard when it comes to nerd talk with basketball. But I think people wanted to see it and know it. And then when you watch games, you'll have an understanding like, okay, I know what's happening here. I know exactly what we're looking for. But that, Jack, you said it earlier. That's just a small amount of what they do. That was 10 clips, and a lot of them the same, like just maybe the initial action and a lot of it in transition. So I'll find some clips where they walk it or they're side out. They do some similar things. The thing is, Jack, none of their stuff changes if it's on the baseline, the sideline, or wherever. They are who they are. They run what they do. They get into their stuff maybe some different ways, but the core of it and what they do is the same. But it's so unpredictable.
Well, this was a lot of fun. I appreciate everybody joining us on this kind of like makeshift mid-afternoon show. It's the July 4th holiday weekend. Everybody's kind of they're already off or sick today from work. So what else are you going to do? Then listen to us yammer about offensive philosophies and breaking down the X's and O's. So we appreciate you guys joining us this afternoon. We'll be back. So think we have a special guest in the works for early next week. I believe we're trying for Tuesday afternoon. We will keep you updated on that, but somebody that knows the X's and O's quite a bit because they're helping the installation of those X's and O's around the program. So we'll see how that goes. We'll keep you guys updated. Keep looking on Twitter. We'll share who it is, when it's the schedule, all that stuff. So plan loosely on Tuesday, another really in-depth show that Sean's going to be able to nerd out and ask some nerdy questions. So get your thinking cap on, bud. It's about to be go time.
I know one thing I'm about to nerd out on. NCAA college football.
Oh, hell yeah. Oh, man, I can't wait.
Yeah, I'm literally like one more day closer. One more day closer.
Dude,
probably won't be for a while.
It's going to be a lot, I don't know where my free time is going to come from to play it, but it's going to come from somewhere. We might just have to while this show is live, just
play it.
Oh, we could Twitch stream it, but just to our YouTube viewers while we're talking about UK basketball. We'll just play college football 25 and talk UK basketball, whatever's going on with that.
So my next 2-3 weeks, I go to Atlanta for 5 days with AAU. And then I go to Chicago 3 days later for the Under Armour Championship. Then I go back to Dayton for 4 days. I'm going back.
So it sounds like you're going to have a lot of open nights where you can bring your PS5 and
the hotel. And I'm going to have this microphone and this laptop and this ring light. And
you better have that Source of Say logo. That better be behind you in the days in that you're staying in Atlanta.
Yeah. Yeah. It'll be in front of me. I'll be holding it like this. But yeah, I'm going to make sure. There we go. I remember when you dropped that. It looks so small. It was so funny because I was spinning it when like a pizza sign on the side of the road when Jack pulled in that day.
Like you were working at Little Caesars or something.
Yeah, I was sitting here spinning. But no, I'm excited for what, and then I'm working the Made Hoops thing in Louisville.
Oh, sweet.
So excited for what's coming, and let's keep knocking out episodes here.
Sweet. We're looking forward to it. Make sure you follow me on Twitter at Jack Pilgrim KSR. Go subscribe to KSR Plus. We're having a blast over there. Again, all the intel and stuff that you hear on the show, it goes on the message board first. So make sure you go subscribe there. Sean, where can fans find your coaching work?
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at _Coach S. Smith. I am getting used to saying that now. And definitely subscribe to this YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Continuing to grow.
Yep. Hopefully we get 50,000, 55,000, 60,000, whatever by the time the season rolls around. So keep growing this thing and having a blast with it. We appreciate you guys for tuning in with us. We will see you next time.